Takopi's Original Sin is the kind of story that crawls in your skin. Adapted from Taizan 5's web manga, it starts out innocently enough. You have a cute alien octopus who drops on Earth with a bag full of happy gadgets and a mission to spread joy. But that sunshine and rainbows energy slams headfirst into the reality of Shizuka's life. A reality built on bullying, neglect, and pain she can't just wish away. That clash is the point. The series isn't just about good intentions. It's about how good intentions without really understanding can miss the mark completely, or worse, make the damage deeper. What starts as a feel-good rescue fantasy turns into a sharp look at the savior complex, showing how the urge to fix someone can spiral into harm. In the end, the chase of universal happiness isn't painted as noble, it's shown as its own kind of original sin. One of the bonus things Takopi's Original Sin does is take the mascot, that cute, safe, feel-good figure you see all over anime, and twist it into something deeply unsettling. Normally, mascots are there to make you feel protected, to give you a little hope. Takopi looks like he fits that mode. Bubbly voice, goofy speech quirks, childlike optimism. He's even a clear nod to Doraemon, another otherworldly visitor with a bag of magical gadgets meant to solve human problems. But here's where they get you. Takopi's help almost always makes things worse, which I'll get more into that here in a little bit. But nevertheless, his picture book design keeps smashing up against the raw, ugly reality of Shizuka's life. It's like we see her pain only with a bright, smiling filter on. He's right in the thick of it, and that clueless innocence only makes it hit that much harder. Takopi is what happens when kindness has no awareness behind it. He doesn't understand the depth of the hurt around him because where he's from, nobody is hurt, everybody's happy. And that's because they got those gadgets, and that fixes everything. Yet here, his attempts to fix things just keeps the cycle going. In doing that, the story isn't just calling out the savior complex, it's also taking aim at the cultural shrug of shikataganai, it can't be helped. It's not just about one alien's failure, but how easy it is for a whole community to look away instead of facing the problem head on. At its core, Takopi's Original Sin is about how families and society fail children, and how those failures keep repeating. The show doesn't just focus on Shizuka, it threads that truth through her classmates Marina and Azuma too. But first, let's talk about Shizuka. She's bullied every single day at school, not the occasional jab or passing insult, but a constant grind meant to wear her down. And when the final bell rings, there's no relief waiting for her at home. Her father walked out, her mother is physically present but emotionally absent, and the walls of her house feel just as hostile as the classroom. With no one there to defend her, no one to tell her she's not the problem, she turns all that cruelty inward. She convinces herself she must deserve it somehow, that if she were better, quieter, different, maybe things would change. That's the tragedy of her world. She's a kid carrying the weight of adult failures, and she's been left to believe it's all her fault. Then you have Marina, the one leading the bullying. She's growing up under the thumb of an emotionally manipulative mother, still bitter and resentful toward Shizuka's family after her marriage fell apart. That resentment gets passed straight down to Marina, twisting her view of Shizuka before she even has a chance to know her. The pain at home doesn't fade, it gets recycled, turned outward, and dumped on someone even more vulnerable. Then you have Azuma, who lives under a quieter but equally damaging kind of neglect, the kind that hides behind high expectations. His mother's affection isn't unconditional, It's something he has to earn by being flawless. Every grade, every action, every word is measured against an impossible standard, and anything less chips away at her approval. Over time, that pressure eats at him, leaving him convinced he's never enough and desperate to win a love that should have been there from the start. Together, these stories make one thing painfully clear. Broken homes create broken kids, and those kids can end up as both victims and abusers, trapped in a cycle they never asked for. The series does not shy away from showing how trauma gets passed down like an unwanted inheritance, and it hits even harder because of how completely the adults fail them. Parents, teachers, anyone who should be protecting them are either absent, looking the other way, or too wrapped up in their own grudges and damage to see what's happening. In the end, Shizuka, Marina, and Azuma are left to face abuse, neglect, and crushing pressure entirely on their own, carrying a weight no child should ever have to bear. Perhaps the most unsettling truth at the heart of Takopi's Original Sin is that even the purest intentions can inflict devastating harm when they are divorced from genuine understanding. The series dismantles the comforting notion that kindness, in of itself, is enough, that goodwill can bridge any gap or heal any wound. Instead, it presents a far harsher reality. Without the patience to listen, the humility to learn, and the respect to honor another's agency, even acts meant to help can become acts of violence. Takopi's journey is not one of malice, but of catastrophic innocence, an alien's unshakable optimism colliding with the jagged edges of human suffering. This theme unfolds through a chain of escalating consequences, each more harrowing than the last. Takopi's gadgets, whimsical in design and brimming with promise, are never the miracle cures he believes them to be. The happy camera, meant to capture and preserve moments of joy, becomes the instrument of Marina's accidental death, a moment that instantly shatters the illusion that technology or gifts can fix everything. Another instance, the Reconciliation Ribbon, designed to mend broken friendships, is twisted into a tool that Shizuka uses to try to kill herself, its bright colors mocking the darkness it fails to dispel. These moments don't just move the plot, they tear apart the notion that you can fix someone's pain by just giving them what you think they need. The gadgets don't fail because they are broken, they fail because they are used without understanding. By the time the series reaches its conclusion, the moral has crystallized with devastating clarity. To try to save someone without first seeing them, truly seeing them, is to impose your will upon their life, no matter how benevolent your intentions are. In Takopi's Original Sin, the titular sin is not cruelty, but blind naivety, the belief that the world can be made right through sheer force of will, untempered by empathy. It is a sin born of optimism, unmoored from reality, and it leaves scars as deep as any born of hatred. The tragedy is not that Takopi wanted to help, but that he never learned the first rule of compassion, that to help someone, you must first let them speak for themselves. Much like Higurashi and ReZero, Takopi's Original Sin uses a time loop, but here it's less a tool for progress and more a slow descent into inevitability. Each rewind preserves Takopi's memories, but not the emotional growth or insight needed to change the outcome. The loop doesn't cleanse the slate, it simply restages the same broken world, where the underlying cruelty, neglect, and isolation remain untouched. What changes are the shapes of the tragedies. A death prevented in one cycle is replaced by a different loss in the next, as Takopi's interventions shift the chain of events without ever dismantling the forces driving them. As the cycles wear on, the tone shifts from frantic problem solving to a creeping awareness that the loop itself is part of the problem. Takopi's reliance on it blinds him to the fact that he's treating symptoms, not causes, and that his solutions are built on assumptions rather than, again, understanding. The Happy Camera stops feeling like a whimsical alien gadget and starts reading as a countdown to the next failure, a reminder that every attempt to overwrite pain without empathy only deepens it. By the time the final reset comes, the story has stripped away any illusion of a perfect outcome. What's left is the hard truth. Some wounds can't be erased, only carried, and the only way forward is to face them without the false comfort of a do-over. Now, a few things I want to point out is that the anime, while it sticks close to the original web manga, does have some distinct differences. The core beats and emotional gut punches are still there, but the adaptation uses the tools of animation, pacing, framing, color, and sound to shift how those moments land. Some scenes are retimed or rearranged to give certain reveals more breathing room, while others are tightened to keep the momentum in a 6-episode format. The anime leans harder into visual contrast, pushing Takopi's bright mascot-like design and candy-colored gadgets against even grimmer, more grounded backgrounds, making the tonal whiplash hit harder than it does on the page. There are also subtle changes in how character moments are staged. The camera lingers longer on silences, on the way a character's eyes shift, or on the empty spaces in a room, details that can't be conveyed the same way in static panels. Some dialogue is trimmed or rephrased, not to censor the story, but to keep the emotional beats sharp. The Happy Camera sequences in particular feel heavier here, with sound design and music cues turning what looked whimsical in the manga into something far more ominous. One of the biggest changes comes at the very end. The anime pushes past the manga's abrupt final beat, offering a bittersweet what-if timeline born from Takopi's final sacrifice. In this new reality, Shizuka and Marina make it to high school alive, older, a little steadier, but still carrying the deep scars of their childhood. The hostility between them has cooled into something quieter, and while they are not suddenly best friends, there's a fragile thread of understanding starting to form. It's not a clean happy ending, the trauma isn't magically gone and the damage isn't undone, but it's a softer landing than the manga's stark close. By letting the story breathe a little longer, the anime reframes Takopi's journey not as a string of failures, but as a flawed, desperate attempt that still managed to leave behind something worth holding on to. The faint but real possibility of connection. Takopi's Original Sin is a landmark achievement, part deconstruction, part parable, and part plea for radical patient empathy. By turning the cute mascot into a mirror for childhood trauma, it dismantles the comforting myths we attach to help and exposes the danger of shallow good intentions. It shows with unflinching clarity that the urge to fix without understanding can deepen the wound instead of closing it. Through Takopi's repeated failures, the series forces us to sit with discomfort, to witness pain without rushing to erase it, and to reject the fantasy that suffering can be magicked away by willpower or technology. The brilliance of the story lies in how it uses its premise to strip away illusions. The time loop isn't a path to mastery or redemption, it's a slow, grinding revelation that resets don't heal. They only stack the weight higher unless something fundamentally changes. Every cycle Takopi endures is another lesson in the limits of intervention and another step toward the truth that presence matters more than solutions. What makes the anime's take so powerful is how it refuses to offer perfect catharsis. Healing here is messy, partial, and often invisible. The scars remain, the relationships are complicated, and the endings are more like fragile beginnings. The extended conclusion softens the anime's abrupt close, Not by erasing the trauma, but by showing a world where survival and tentative connection are still possible, yet, unfortunately, at the cost of Takopi's life, which shows us that you can't get a good outcome without sacrificing something. This is where Takopi's Original Sin lands its deepest blow, in reminding us that empathy isn't about swooping in as a savior, but about staying when things are ugly, listening when there's nothing to say, and holding space for someone else's pain without trying to override it. It's a rejection of the savior complex and a call to slower, more honest kind of care, one that accepts its own limitations. In the end, its value lies not in delivering a neat resolution, but in telling the truth about how healing really works. Sometimes the best thing you can offer is not a fix, but a commitment to be there, to witness, to listen, and to stay present, even when you can't save everyone. That's not failure. That's the beginning of something real. Thank you all for watching this video. If you made it this far, you've sat through some heavy themes, and I appreciate you sticking with me to the very end. Takopi's Original Sin isn't an easy story to digest. It's messy, tragic, and unflinching, but that's exactly why it's worth talking about. These kinds of conversations matter, and I'm glad we could unpack it together. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more anime analysis that doesn't shy away from the uncomfortable stuff, make sure you're subscribed to AniNalysis. That's where we break things down without sugarcoating, whether it's heartbreaking drama, mind-bending time loops, or just weird, wonderful corners of anime storytelling. Drop a like if this hit you, share it with someone who'd appreciate the discussion, and let me know in the comments what series you'd like to see covered next. This has been PC. Thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.